And thanks everybody for attending today. And I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself. So who is Tina? I am a Stanford graduate engineer and design thinker. I have worked over 20 years in Silicon Valley's high-tech industry in different companies. Currently working for SAP, is the #1 enterprise software company in the world. You may not heard of it, but a lot of companies such as Apple and Google, they all use SAP software to run their office and maintain their company's operation. And outside of work, I have been volunteering with Tzu for more than 20 years. I've served as the principal for Cupertino Tzu Academy. And this is not the first time I'm here at Tuan today. So I'm very happy to be here today to share and continue our sharing from last year. And one of the two things I did during the last year, this very trying years of COVID, I actually started a routine. So every week I try to find a less beaten path to go out, exercise, biking or hiking. And I also did several different free talk with different organizations on Zoom. So over the past 6 months, I actually started 2 YouTube channels. One is about design thinking and one is about the travel in the Bay Area. So you have the link if you're interested in listening to more of my design thinking talk or wondering what are the good place to visit this weekend with your family, go to my channel. I don't know how many of you who were here last year remember the good old day we can still learn in person, as you can see on this slide. So last year, like everybody, we are all in the same room. We have this really in-person workshop experience. And we started from doing the marshmallow challenge. So it's a quick team bonding exercise. Then last year, we really focused on empathize, like how do you empathize yourself, right? From understanding yourself. We did an exercise in creating a mind map, learning who are you, what's your strength and weakness, what do you enjoy doing, what are you good at, what do you think the world would need when you graduate from college. And we also take everybody to understand your own personality a little bit. So there are different kind of tools that's available online. And we use this 16 personality to tap into the Myers-Briggs to help everybody understand what kind of personality you have and statistically, what does it mean? And lastly, we create a magazine cover for each one of you, if you remember, just how you imagine yourself in 5 years, right? So that was a really quick recap of what we did last year. So for today, I'm not gonna repeat any of the things you learned last year, but we are going to dig a little deeper in each of the design thinking phases. And I know we have some new students in the mix, right? So there may be the freshmen who just joined the high school team this year. So I'm going to give everybody a really quick refresher what design thinking is and what we are gonna do about it for the next 100 minutes of the class. So why is everybody talking about design thinking? Like in the past 10 years, this has become a buzzword, right? Not only in business magazine, but also in academia, right? So all the top school, Stanford, Harvard, they're all teaching design thinking. And design thinking at Stanford is one of the hardest class you can sign up to. So why is everybody talking about design thinking? It has to be useful, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't see all this top school teaching it to their students, and you wouldn't see the top company all using this to help them innovate in their companies. So design thinking and our traditional way of thinking, what is the difference? If you want to compare really quickly, I would say the traditional way of thinking, we have this mindset of avoiding failure, and we want to get to the right answer right away, right? We believe every problem has one right answer. But is that true? As you grow up in life, you realize there are different answers to the question. And that's where design thinking comes in, to use a different framework of mind, to not think about things as solution oriented, and instead design thinking promotes you can learn from failure. You fail fast to succeed sooner, right? And it's very hands-on. You want to try something and show something, and not only talking about the concept. And that's why prototyping and testing is very key in design thinking. And we're going to go through the entire cycle today. So you will prototype with your teammates later on in the class. So we emphasize about doing is very active. So I really ask all your attention today and stick with us all the way till the end, okay? Then you will really see the benefit of the entire exercise for today. So why design thinking is all the buzz? I want to give you one example of a very successful design thinker who is Steve Jobs, a natural born design thinker. He didn't go to Stanford D school, right? But how could he create this revolutionary product that changed our life, right? If you imagine the iPhone only came about in 2007. But can you imagine your life without a smartphone, right? I couldn't. A lot of people, they analyze, why is Apple so successful? How could Steve Jobs come up with this concept of bringing all this element together to this phone? And Harvard Business School actually did a study. They contribute the success of iPhone to the practice of design thinking, not just on Steve Jobs, his own genius, but how Apple works together using this design thinking mindset. And what Steve Jobs discovered is this phone is not a tool just to make phone call, right? So what is the people's desire in the phone, right? You make a phone call because you want to connect with other people. What are the different ways to connect, right? You want to share. You want to share your life. You want to share your idea. So it's not just through voice. It could be through camera, right? From a photo, from a video. That's why this iPhone has so many functionality. You can get online. You can share your photo, video via social media. You have all this app to stay connected, right? So Steve Jobs saw the insight, what people really need in a phone, right? It's not to make a phone call, but to connect with the people. So that's, I want to put a quote here on the right-hand side. So design or design thinking is not just something that the product designers do, right? It's something that every one of us can apply in our life, in anything that we do. You just have to figure out how things work, right? And how we can make things better. And this thing can be tangible, such as an iPhone, or something intangible, such as an experience, right? So that's what we will be doing an exercise on later today. And design thinking, if I want to give a definition, I would say is a human-centered methodology for solving problems by creating a lot of new ideas. So if you Google design thinking, you probably have seen a lot of different process and different visuals showing the different thing coming together. And companies are using design thinking as a way for them to innovate and create new product or services. And design thinking really happens when the three things come together, right? It's not enough to just have an idea, right? How do you bring that idea into something that's feasible, right? How do you bring that idea to be viable, right? It can be made into a product that people want to buy. And how do you make something that's desired by people, right? That's the key of the three circles. Like you have to understand people's need first, right? This thing, it doesn't matter if it's a product or service, it has to be desired by you, right? So you want to try it out, you want to get it. A lot of people associate design thinking with Stanford D School. Like Stanford D School is actually a nickname, right? The full name of Stanford D School is called the Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford. And who is Hasso? And Hasso is actually the co-founder of SAP, right? SAP is the company I'm working for currently. Hasso co-founded Stanford D School in 2005 with David Kelley. Who's David Kelley? So David Kelley is the co-founder of IDEO. IDEO is one of the leading design firms in the world, and they have several groundbreaking design. So the first iMac and the first Apple mouse designed by them. So Hasso and David Kelley, they come together in 2005. Hasso donated $35 million to Stanford and started this design thinking program at Stanford. And SAP in Silicon Valley, we are right outside Stanford. I have been working in SAP's design thinking team. And what does Stanford D School look like? It's nothing really fancy, right? It's really just a space with a bunch of movable furniture. You can tell those are from IKEA, right? Nothing special. So what's special about it is the class. The class are all workshop style, very intense, 6 to 10 weeks, and you have to deliver something by the end of the class. And on this picture, I want to highlight Kevin Su. Kevin is actually my Tzu Chi High School team student 20 years ago. Okay, at that time, I was running Tzu Chi High School team. And Kevin is a freshman at Gun High at Palo Alto, and he was in my team. And 20 years later, he not only graduated from Stanford, attended D School class, and he's also a lecturer at Stanford D School. And he was teaching this urban design class. And he's able to take this class one step up, and he's actually working for the government of Singapore. How design thinking can be applied, right? It's not only to a product like a phone or a mouse or a toothbrush. It can be applied to planning of the entire city. That's the power of design thinking, right? Not a technology-driven thing. Like you see no technology here, but really it's a mindset and how you change your way of thinking, right? So you have the capacity to create new stuff. And in Stanford D School, they teach design thinking in 5 different steps. If you Google design thinking, you can see like Harvard may teach you 6 steps. MIT may teach you 3 steps, right? Each different design thinking program teach differently. But I think the essence is very similar to this. So I'm going to stick with the Stanford D School 5 step. So the 5-step design thinking process start with empathize, right? What is empathize? It's the verb for empathy, right? You can see each of the steps, I'm using a verb, right? Instead of using a noun, right? Each of the steps you have to do something. So the first step is to empathize, like whom are you designing this for? Whose problem are you solving, right? And the second step is define. What are you defining the scope of this problem? What is it? An idea is, how can we come together in a team, in a different diverse collaboration mode? Can we create different options for this problem, right? Now, once you have a lot of idea, you can select a few key ideas where you can prototype, right? Make it happen and test it with the end user. What wows them, what works, okay? So that's quickly the 5 different steps of design thinking. And we often say design thinking never has an ending place, right? We say you have to iterate and iterate and iterate again. So you can always make a solution better. It's not a one-way street, but really a circular iteration process. And I really like this visual. Brings us back to the traditional thinking versus design thinking, right? So failure is not a bad thing. Don't let failure become the burden on your shoulder, right? You should build upon your failure and learn from this, right? So it becomes your stepping stone. So we have a saying in design thinking: you fail often, fail early, and you fail forward. So failure is not a bad thing. So that's the first mindset we want to establish today. Okay, we learn from trying, right? You don't get to it the first time, it's fine. You may not get to it 10 times, it's also fine, right? You learn something from each attempt. Okay, and with that, I want to introduce today's design challenge. So if you remember last year, we really focused on understanding yourself, who you are, right? And you can think about who you are and what do you want to do with your life. Again, that too is also an iterative process, right? It's not what do you want to become when you graduate from college or when you grow up, right? You can change what you do throughout your lifespan, right? There's not a one answer to your life. It can be many different answers. And this year, I'm gonna try something different. So I've prepared a new design challenge for today. So we all have been at home for 1 year. What have you learned in the past year, right? Does remote learning all look as rosy as this picture, like everybody looking happy? Mom is working, dad is crafting with the kids. It may be true for some family, but for many family I've seen is far from the truth, right? It can be people sitting on the same dining table, mom working, kids struggling on the other side. The internet is unstable. You can hear each other and the noise level is high, right? It's challenging. You have been through this. You know what works and what doesn't work for you, right? So today we're going to put you into teams randomly. So you will not be in your normal team, okay? And we're going to mix you with different teams. So it may be you have some freshmen, some senior in your team, and you're going to learn from each other what works and what doesn't work, and how might we reimagine or redesign post-COVID world. What do you imagine as the new learning process, the new learning experience? That's what we are trying to do today. So the first step is going back to our design thinking process. Who are we designing this for, right? In this remote learning experience, there are different players, right? You have parents, you have the students, you have the teacher, right, on the other side of the Zoom. So who are we designing for? A good design has to consider everybody in the process, right? But today I want you to focus on one role, right? Because to tackle all the roles, it would take a lot of time. And we don't have that much time for today. So I want you to focus on just one persona, just you as the student, right? Because you know what you like and what you don't like in the past year. learning remotely, right? So you don't have to do so much user research, right? You don't have to talk to different people because you know already what works and what doesn't work. So it saves us a lot of time in that emphasize step, right? In that step, you normally have to talk to your target people, right? Who are you solving this problem with? And you want to sit down with them to understand their pain point. But for this design challenge, you are the end user and you are also the creator. So you get to define how you want to take this remote learning process to the next level. Okay, so for the next 2 minutes, I want you each individually. Okay, we're not going to the breakout room yet. Individually, I want you to take 2 minutes and think about what you like and what you dislike for the past year's remote learning. Just write it down on a piece of paper. 2 minutes starts now. Time is up. Do I have one volunteer to share with everybody your top 3 likes and dislikes? Come on, we have 147 people.
Okay, so the 3 things I like are that you can wake up late, it's convenient, and you don't need to change clothes. But the things I don't like is that you can't actually see people, and you have to you can't plan activities that would ordinarily take a shorter period of time because you can't hear over everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And also Zoom fatigue. Just sitting in a Zoom call is tiring.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's all great observation. I'm sure a lot of you echo what Michelle was talking about. Maybe something similar, maybe something is different, but that's where we will come to the next section. Is called cluster. What does cluster mean, right? In design thinking, you will think about, you'll hear about like cluster a lot. Like people will say, oh, we will do a cluster exercise. We're going to synthesize together. So what is a cluster? So cluster, of course, you know verbally what it means, right? It's like putting a group of similar things or people together, right? So cluster in design thinking is a way for us to classify and to categorize and to group together and to make meaning out of unstructured information, right? The next step, we're going to go to Jamboard. So you can share out with your team. So you're going to share what you write down on the paper. You're going to transfer them to a Jamboard. So it's like a Google whiteboard, okay? And you're going to cluster your different idea together, right? What you like, what you dislike, and don't just do everything I like in one big lump and dislike in one big lump, right? Try to group them together, similar thing in one group, and you can give title, right? Or a topic or a theme. That's what we're going to do in the next exercise. Once you're in the breakout room, just quickly introduce each other and share out, right, what you like and what you dislike, and everybody can post on the Jamboard.
The link is going to be in the chat. On the very
Okay.
top center on Tina's screen, you can see a 1 out of 2. So when you open up that link, there's going to be a 1 out of 20. And just go to your corresponding room once I open up breakout rooms. Okay, I'm going to open all rooms and have a good one. 10 minutes, right?
10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, hello. We're back in the main room.
I can share. So for likes, we said we can wake up like later. There's more time to finish work in class. You can play music, and it's convenient because you just pop in and pop out. You can connect anywhere if you have Wi-Fi, so you don't have to be like in your house. You can be like outside or something. You have more time to do other things. Most of the work is online, and sometimes it's easier to like fill out a Google Doc than to like write it all out on paper. Also, my typing got better. What we didn't like is like when you go into a breakout room, like sometimes it's like really silent and no one really talks. And sometimes like if your internet gets shaky, it's like really, really annoying because you can't hear what the teacher is saying. You can't really interact with people, so there's no real like human interaction. It's kind of annoying to submit like assignments, especially if you have to like take a picture and then email and then blah blah blah. Also, it's annoying to sit in front of your camera, so like Zoom fatigue, and yeah, hard to keep your camera on.
Okay, so once you understand the problem you are facing, right? And the next step is we're going to focus a little bit in something called a how might we statement. And that will be the basis for us to ideate, right? Ideate is the same as brainstorming, right? We're gonna brainstorm together on the possible solution. So that's the second step of design thinking, define and defining what's that thing we are envisioning, okay? So how might we statement is really important in the design thinking process. Everybody may have a different point of view. What is the problem? Like you see it differently, I may see it differently, right? But working with a group, how might we come together, right? Establish a common point of view, and we can reframe that problem in a problem statement. And when we're brainstorming, we can use that problem statement to focus on. And how might we statement reads like this? How might we help the user? What's the need they have because of something? So this is like playing a word game, right? You fill in the blank. How might we help, say, Michelle? Maybe she has some unstable Wi-Fi problem because she really needs a stable Wi-Fi to make her learning smooth, right? The remote class smooth. So I'm just giving two examples here. A point of view may be student needs stable high-speed internet in order to do remote learning effectively. So we can turn around that point of view into a how might we statement. So how might we provide high-speed internet to all students? So another alternative, how might we is, how might we make high-speed internet more affordable, right? So all the family can have high-speed internet, so people can go about remote learning and remote everything, right? So what I'm trying to say is, you have endless possibility how you want to define this, right? Like remote learning is a big topic. Can we carve out one area, one niche, create a how might we statement? Then that will be our basis for ideation next. So another example, so student needs social interaction with the peers, right, to stay engaged in remote learning. So we can turn that around and create a how might we. So how might we help students stay engaged socially in a remote setting? Or another way, like how might we create meaningful social engagement in a remote setting? And there are many, many different ways, but the important thing is, as a team, you can define one how might we problem statement, and that will be the basis for our ideation activity. So I'm going to talk about ideation really quick. So ideation is creating all these different ideas, right? Each thing you are seeing on this slide, if you Google them, there is a different way of brainstorming. So if you Google 101 method, that is a specific way that leads you through a brainstorming exercise. And if you remember last year, we actually did the 6-3-5, right? We have 6 people in a table, then we turn around the sticky 5 times, each time writing the 3 ideas. So that was one method we tried. So there are many, many different ways for you to facilitate or brainstorm. So I just want you to try something really simple today, okay? When you're going back to the breakout room, just think about, what would a superhero do? If you are James Bond, if you are Wonder Woman, what would you do to make this remote learning experience better? If sky is the limit, nothing you couldn't do. what would you do? Okay, so that's a very simple ideation exercise. There's no constraint. You have all the resources in the world, and what would you create a best remote learning experience with? With that, I'm going to cover this really quick. So when you are sharing out your idea, the most important thing to remember is to defer your judgment. So you have 6 people in your breakout room. You may not know each other really well. So when other people are sharing out their idea, don't make a comment. So all the ideas are good idea, right? Hear them, let them finish, go for as many ideas as possible, go for wild idea. And you can even draw, right? It doesn't have to be just verbal. You can even draw something on a piece of paper, right? And share with your team. And we are going to put you back to the breakout room, the same breakout room that you were with the last time. And I want you to do 2 things. Define a how might we statement, similar to the example I gave you before, right? So create that one how might we statement and discuss possible solution for this and write down different idea on the Jamboard. We can go into the breakout room, and when we come back, I will also ask 2 volunteers to share out. Can you see my screen? Back to the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay. I hope that was enough time. I know that was really quick. You have to define your how might we and create some ideas. I was with group 19 and I think they did a fantastic job. Emma was like leading the group 19. Emma, do you want to quickly share out what you guys put on the board? Start with the how might we statement and just the idea you guys have captured.
Okay, so for us, our how might we was focused on just increasing engagement with like your peers in a virtual setting, as well as like keeping yourself focused. So it was like, how might we help students increase engagement with classmates and get and help them stay focused without getting sidetracked during class. And so our solutions were kind of like, go to a place where you can focus more, like outside or in like a specific room in your house maybe, or like create a study group with your friends to have dedicated time to study. And one that was connected to that is work with a group of your friends so that you can hold each other accountable for staying on task and getting your homework done. And then eliminate distractions, obviously, like your phones, your like YouTube and other stuff. So, and probably more goal-oriented studying would be helpful for some people. Like, I know since online school time is a lot more flexible, we don't necessarily we procrastinate a lot. So maybe setting timers or trying to get stuff done within a specific amount of time would increase your productivity. And another one was trying to change your mindset about learning. Maybe it's something you're trying to avoid or something that you just don't want to do. And so trying to change that would be helpful. And also, like, lastly, get enough sleep, because that's helpful for everyone just to stay motivated.
Find the group 19. Can you guys see my screen? I think group 19 did a really good job. The how might we statement is well defined, and everybody create at least one idea. It's awesome. Does any other group want to share? So we have time for one more group to share out. Any volunteer? Just tell me which, and I can go to your board. Group 13, anyone want to share your how might we and your ideas?
So our general idea was, we were wondering how, because we're doing a group activity right now, so we were wondering, how do we keep students engaged in group activities? So one thing we noticed was that students tend to pay attention in group activities a lot better when they have to write something down, or they have to do some kind of written assignment. So we wrote that we need to have students write out ideas or notes on a specific topic, and to make sure students, like the teacher knows who had which ideas, to make sure that everyone took part in the discussion. And we also noticed that when the teachers are talking, students tend to zone out sometimes, and they don't really engage with what the teacher is saying. So it's important for the teacher to make to give assignments to do that have specific questions that could only really be answered if you listen to the talk, to make sure that the students stay focused. So yeah, that was our general idea, I guess, to how do we keep students engaged.
That's great. Thank you, Yoda and Group 13. Great job, guys. Okay, let's move on to our last segment. So prototype is key in the design thinking process. We talked about Stanford D School, like they have this wall with all this tool, right? You can see like this ruler, saw, all kind of sticky, Sharpie, sewing machine. Like when you are making something physical, like if you're prototyping a new toothbrush or a new bike helmet, you might be able to make something out physically, right? Using some tangible stuff to pretend the end product. How does it look like and feel like? How about something that's intangible, right? Like today we are experiencing this remote learning as a design challenge, right? So we want to recreate a process. How do you recreate a process or an experience? That's where a good story comes in. The power of a good story is what we are focusing on for the last 30 minutes of today's class. Why is story important? So everybody loves listening to a story, right? So story 22 times more memorable than facts. And there's certain key element of a story. The story must have a main character, one or two people that interact with each other, and the story develop in different scenes. And you have to have a storyline, a beginning, middle, and the end. So the character, the scene, like the surrounding of the world and the context, and the storyline, beginning, middle, and end. And a simple storytelling framework, we usually say it's a 5-scene storyline. You have an intro, then your key character must have some issue, right? Some conflict. Then what does he do about this, right? Maybe it's some other character your main character is interacting with, and they reach a climax, the main point of the story. And how do you bring that into a resolution and conclude the story? If you look into any movie, doesn't matter if it's Avenger or Disney animation, they pretty much all follow this 5 scenes storyline, okay? And of course, you can add a lot more detail into the story. I want to give you this gift today. So everybody can download this storyboard tool that my team at SAP, we create. And we create this and we put this into Creative Commons. But anyone who is using this in a non-commercial way, so you're not making money out of this, you can have the right to use this. And I'm going to go to the website now, right here. Can you guys still see? I will play a video that kind of introduce what does this tool do, okay? I'm going to post this link to our chat. And so you guys, where's my chat? You guys can go to this website and just follow along with me. Just follow with me on my screen. So this is the page where you can download the toolkit, right? The video was showing the physical ones. And when we are still able to do physical workshop, we play this like a paper doll, right? So it's really like a toy. It's really fun, right? 像我们小时候玩纸娃娃一样, like you have a bunch of those paper doll character and you can choose the setting, right? And you can tell a story. And we create everything digitally now, and you can download it into a PowerPoint or a PDF format. So if you can follow along my screen, if you scroll down below the video, you will see a place where you can download several things. Can you see? There's a concept guide and a digital storyboarding guide. I want you to download the digital storyboarding guide first, okay? Then download the basic set, these two things. When you download the digital storyboarding guide, it's just one PowerPoint. It looks like this. And let's go through this really quickly. So if you finish downloading, just watch my screen really quickly, okay? So for everything you have seen on the video, we turn that into a digital template, and this is it. And you can use this to build a story. And following this toolkit, it pretty much will tell you how to create a story, okay? So you need to structure your story to have a title, a character, a chapter, and some detail, right? Like the 5-scene storyline we talked about earlier, right? You teach you how to create a scene. Of course, you don't have to go into all these details. And how do you create a scene? And here's one example. So this is talking about a truck that's late for delivery. Okay, so who is the character? So we have a truck driver, a logistic manager, and someone who's like buying stuff maybe. And from the toolkit, you can choose the context as a background. You can have several people in speech bubble. And you have a second scene. So you can develop the story a little bit. What's the problem, right? The traffic jam is the problem and he's late. And how does he resolve this problem, right? That's the ending scene. Then you have the story template from slide 12. You can build your story name, define who's your character, and define your 3 or more scenes. So that's the first thing you download. That's the guide, right? So in the guide, you can just use the template and fill this. And in this template, you only have this 3-person. That's not nearly enough, right? So that's why we also download the basic set. So in the basic set, it gave you a lot more character, okay, front and back even. So lots of different people you can choose from, okay, and different speech bubble, different device, like, right, we're doing remote learning. You probably need to show like a desktop or laptop, that setting. Yeah, so it's just fun. A lot of different things you can play with. You don't have to draw, and you have all this wonderful drawing that's done for you. Then you put them into a story, okay? And back to the scene, we only download this 2, but there are more. I welcome you to download if you ever build a story about healthcare, about retail. So you can download all these additional graphics, right? So this is my gift and SAP's gift for everybody. So we put this into Creative Commons. So if you're not making a profit out of this, feel free to use it and source it and saying that's you're using this from us and from our website. And in the next breakout session, we are going to ask you to go to the scene. Now you have download the storyboard guide and you have download the basic set. In the basic set, not only you have the digital one, but also we give you the physical one. When you are back to like physical school, if you want to create real cardboard, like you can print out physical one. So there's a PDF file, there's even dotted line, how you can print this, how you can cut it, and you can really create this physical paper doll style storyboard. That will be something really cool to show in your class when you ever have a need to create storyboard. Okay, so you have download both the guide and the basic set. I believe with that you have enough to go on. So in the next, we don't have 20 minutes. Let's make it 10 minutes. So people go to your breakout room. Whoever like have PowerPoint, please share your screen and start working with the team, right? Open up the guide and use that template to start building a story. It doesn't have to be 4 or 5 scenes, right? Three or 4 is okay, right? Just who is your character? What are they currently having difficulty in the remote learning, and how do you overcome the problem, right? So this is to combine everything we have done earlier. In the earlier breakout, you have your how might we statement, right? You have several ideas. How do you bring this together into a storyline? Okay, so let's go back to the breakout room now. I was with group 14. They did a fantastic job. They downloaded the toolkits and none of them have PowerPoint. So we were able to upload them into Google Drive. And Ethan was helping everyone in group 14 to start organizing our board. And we were not able to finish the scenes at all, but we were able to define how might we. So their how might we is they want to create a more interesting learning experience in the remote setting, right? And they have identified a student who is a 17 years old senior and interacting with a math teacher, Mr. Mitchell, and how do they make this math learning experience more engaging and more interesting. And it's a really good start. We didn't finish the whole thing, but I think everybody in group 14 get a little taste of it. I know we don't have too much time, and I really want to just wrap up and share the very last thing. So if you create this prototype, the very last step is to test, right? Test with your end user to see if it works. And to bring everything we learned today together, on the key takeaway, we learned the 5 different steps of design thinking. And design thinking start from finding our problem, right? You may not notice, but we went through this divergent and convergent process, right? We try to understand. So we list our like and dislike in our current remote school learning, and we synthesize them into different clusters, right? Then we define out how might we, and we think about different way to solve that problem. Then we use the scenes to build a storyboard to illustrate the new experience. You know the key concept now, and you even have the tool for the storyboard, right? The scene toolkit. Please download it, use it, and finish this with your story. And you can use this in your school project as well. Feel free to share. That concludes our class today. I hope we have more time so we can finish this storyboard. And if you want to listen more about design thinking, this is the channel I was talking about. I started during my COVID time. I've done 4 talks and the recordings are all there on my channel. Please go there and subscribe. Also my travel vlog. I just want to share with you guys, there are plenty of great places around us, places you can enjoy the beautiful Bay Area. Okay, we live in this blessed environment. It would be such a shame if you have never been to any of these places. So I really encourage you, go outside, enjoy the nature. I think that's the silver lining I learned during the past 12 months in the pandemic. I think I'm a lot more close with my family, with nature, with doing everything outdoor. Yeah, I just want to share that with you guys. And there's so much more to be hopeful that we can carry on and move on to the next phase, and we can all get back to our routine and see each other. So with that, I thank you for your attention and staying all the way with me in the past 2 hours. And I'm gonna turn this back to Jonathan.
Thank you so much to Tina Sugu for hosting today's workshop for us today. And let's just all give her a round of applause with the reaction claps. I hope everyone here all enjoyed the workshop as much as I did. And hopefully everyone, we all found something that we can take away and start using in our everyday lives.